Father, we thank you. Father, we thank you for allowing us to come together to meet to take care of the people's business. May that business be conducted in a manner which it be pleasing in thy sight. Forgive us of our many sins. Amen. Amen.
The redistricting meeting tonight this evening is our second one today. The first one was held in Sumner today at 2 o'clock. And we have made our way here tonight for our second district for the eastern part of Tallahatchie County, and giving the residents of the ones from the west side and also from the east side to be able to respond to the Board of Supervisors what they'd like to see and give us your input on the process of the redistricting and the supervisors' redistricting lines and the district court judge and counselors. Basically what we already been set in motion is that we trying to give the limit down to 5 minutes. If you need more than 5 minutes, all you got to do is make that request, and we'll try to oblige. Realizing it's 6:30 in the afternoon, it's on Saturday night, and some people might like to party, I don't know. But you might have something else to do. But at the same time, we're here for this purpose, and we intend to try to give it much time as leisure as possible. Realizing some plans is going to be presented. Marco is going to have something to say. So as you get up and speak, try to keep your comments to the redistricting. We want everybody to hear from everybody that wishes to speak and give your input. But let's don't get too far off. If you do, we'll sort of try to guide you back in. We had a good meeting this morning. I was very pleased with it. We got some input from the community, and I'm looking for the same thing to happen tonight. From here, we're going to introduce our attorney. He's going to introduce the other panels, my colleagues and other panels, and we'll go from there. And that's none other than Mr. Taylor. And also, please, cut off your cellular phones if you don't mind.
Well, good evening. Good evening. Good to be with everybody this afternoon. The reason for this proceeding is to get public input. Well, it is a requirement of law, but it is also not a bad thing to do in any event. It's a good thing. What the reason for the redistricting is because of population deviation. These have been passed out under a United States Supreme Court decision. The difference between the largest and the smallest district should not exceed 10%. Population changes in numbers of people in the districts in the supervisor district means that they're over 10% deviation. The demographers will explain that, and the supervisors have adopted some interesting guidelines to go by. They may adopt others, but these are 3 guidelines. First, the districts have to be contiguous. In other words, that means they have to join. It means that you don't just join at a point. The districts have to be contiguous. Secondly, the difference between the largest and the smallest district can be no more than 10%. Thirdly, the appropriate state and federal laws will be complied with, including the Voting Rights Act. And fourthly, the cores of existing districts will be preserved where these are compatible with the other criteria. Now, the demographers are here tonight. Mr. Bill Rigby. Mr. Rigby spoke at the meeting in Sumner earlier this afternoon. Mr. Rigby is from the city of Madison, and also Mr. Derek Johnson is from Jackson, Mississippi, and he is both of these are demographers. And they they prepare a report on what the standard population is for each one. The ideal district, the population was 15,210 in 1990. The county, and each an ideal supervisor district would have had 3,042 at that time. The district, the county population now is 14,903, and the ideal supervisory district was 2,980, and 6/10 of a person. Of course, you can't have 6/10 of a person. So, but has everybody, I know this has been over, has everybody signed one of these forms here? It's very important that we have everyone to sign the form and the list of people that is being passed around tonight. These will become an exhibit of these proceedings. We have a court reporter who is taking down each one of these statements that will be made. Citizens are encouraged to make whatever statement they desire, of course, mindful of the rights of others. And they can make any kind of written submissions that they wish to, or oral submissions that they wish to. This is an opportunity for people to have, and before the final plan is adopted, there will be other public hearings on that. Need to make sure, though, that everybody has these, and the names of the people that are on these will be called out, and they'll each be given an opportunity to make statements or present whatever they wish to on the subject of redistricting. So that concludes what statements that I had, and so now, of course, everybody knows the supervisors: Supervisor Little, Supervisor Tribble, Banks, Hodges, Goodwin, and now this gentleman is, what's your name?
Al White.
Mr. White. Now he's not with the. He's not a court reporter. In other words, he's not with us, but I believe he's taping the proceedings, and of course anyone is free and invited to do that. This is all a public meeting, and anybody's free to do that and encouraged so to do. So with no further ado, one of the demographers, now you did it earlier, y'all gonna tag team, or whoever, who's gonna do it? Whoever is, go ahead.
The purpose of redistricting is to redraw political boundaries where the elected officials are elected from. And the goal, one of the primary goals is to meet one person, one vote standard, which is a federal law, which simply means that the largest district cannot be any larger than your smallest district. And I believe Mr. Ricky passed out a handout that looks like this here. And if you look at the handout and notice that District 1, when you see variance, is below the ideal size of 3,042 people by 3.22%. So now District 2 is over what would be the ideal size by 3.22%. District 3 is below by 1. I'm sorry. In 1995 plan, the plan that was previously adopted by the court in 1995. And we took those same district lines, and please excuse me, and we inputted the 2000 census data. And when you take a look at the 2000 census data, then you notice that on the opposite side of the page that District 1 is is over the ideal size of 2,980 people by 11.52. District 2 is below by 6.13. District 3 is over by 4.91%, and District 4 is below by 14.85. and District 5 is over by 4.54. And how we determine whether or not the county is out of compliance with one person, one vote is simply by adding District 1, which had the highest percent over the ideal size, with District 4, which had the lowest number below the ideal size. You take away any plus or minus sign, you add those two together, you come up with a total deviation or variance of 26.37. And that's how we know in Tallahatchie County we had to redistrict to comply with the federal law. So that's one of the primary goals in the redistricting process, is to comply with federal law so that each district can have equal weight in terms of individuals who will go to the polls and elect someone to represent their interests. In terms of what our job is going to be as consultants, we're here today to get input from the community to hear how you all would like to see the lines change in a way in which we can come into compliance with one person, one vote, and in a way that would best represent the interests of the county. The other thing that we're going to be looking at is under 1965 Voting Rights Act, we also have to submit any redistricting plans to the Justice Department. So the Justice Department is going to look for a few things. One of the things they're going to look for is whether or not the community had an opportunity to have input into the process. That's the purpose of the public hearing tonight. To allow the Tallahatchie community to have input into the process, so we are drafting a plan that best represent what the citizens of Tallahatchie would like to see, along with the board members that represent the citizens of Tallahatchie County. The other thing they're going to be looking at is whether or not in the redistricting process there was any vote dilution of the minority community. Were there things used in the redistricting process that prevented the minority community in the county from casting an effective vote? It's one of the things that can cause a plan not to be pre-cleared, and the role of myself, the board attorney, and Bill is to try to craft a plan that does not violate any vote dilution rules. And the final thing is to make sure that we do not retrogress, we do not go back, that we do not take away from the gains that the minority community were able to achieve from the previous plan, which allowed them to elect someone of their choice. So those are some of the things that the Justice Department will be looking for, and some of the things that we're going to be looking at in our craft and a redistricting plan that best reflect the needs and the interests of the community of Tallahatchie County. The other plan that we're going to be taking a look at is the Justice Court districts. And the same rules that apply to the supervisory districts would apply to the Justice Court districts. The only difference is instead of drafting 5 districts, we'll be drafting 2 districts. And in the case of the Tallahatchie Justice Court, you have your East District, which with a total variance, they're approximately, I think it was about 600 over the ideal size, and your West District was about 600 people below your ideal size. So our goal in this situation will be the exact same, to equalize the both districts, so the vote in one district can have the equal weight of the vote of the individuals in another district. And all of the rules that would apply for the supervisory district that I talked about earlier, one person, one vote, and ensuring that we comply with all the Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act would also apply to the Justice Court District. And, you know, in terms of public input, we're going to welcome input about how the Justice Court District should be drafted as well. So with that said, that concludes.
Thank you very much, and we're very fortunate our circuit clerk, Mr. Eastridge, Mr. Paul Eastridge, has come in, and for these are existing districts right here, and the population figures are on the existing districts. That is one of the plans that has been submitted. I think it was submitted today, and that will probably be others from individuals here or elsewhere, but those are the existing Justice Court District and supervisory districts as it is right now. So, that being said, ready for people to start having their say?
Yes, Mr. Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Lowe, for inviting us to come in and talk to you all concerning the redistricting of Tallahatchie County. My name is Richard L. Gardner, and I'm the chairman of the Tallahatchie County Redistricting Committee of Tallahatchie County. We've been into this ever since the 1980s, so this is the third time that I've met with the Board of Supervisors on redistricting. Next will be our film man, Stal White, who is working with the Redistricting Committee. Mike Sales is our consultant, who's out of Southern Echo, Jackson, Mississippi. This plan here that you see in the center, the existing plan, that plan was drawn up by the courts. When I said courts, the federal courts drew this plan up. We tried to negotiate with the Board of Supervisors at that time, so neither side would give. So our judge, what was that judge's name, Jerome? But anyway, he said, if you can't get together, we're going to let the courts draw up a plan. And that's how this plan come aboard. The county Board of Supervisors did not have anything to do with it. The Tallahatchie County Redistricting did not have anything to do with it. First of all, it split Charleston in 3 directions, 1, 2, and 3. So that dilutes the black voting strength in the city of Charleston. Next, it said lease changes. I don't like the plan in the beginning, so when you say lease changes, see, this plan come from the northeast side of Tallahatchie County, clean on over to the western part of Tallahatchie County. Plus, it put us in Congressional District 1 in Wickers District and Congressional District 2, which was the Benton District. When they said lease change is discriminatory, period. So I don't like it, then I don't like the parts that lease change. So I would yield to other. We got a plan here. In fact, we got 2 plans that we would like to talk about, and then, well, I know we ain't gonna come together. It's gonna be a series of meetings, but it's gonna have to be a starting point. So this is our starting point. Thank you, Mr. Little, for giving me that few minutes.
Following the same sequence, I guess, Mr. Seals?
Good evening.
Good evening.
If I may approach and speak from you?
Yes, sir.
Is that gonna be an exhibit, yes, you're using the same exhibit to your
Yes.
top testimony you did this afternoon?
Yes, except now the easel works.
Okay.
Got my magic stick with me. Appointment. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members. My name is Mike Sayer. I'm program director with Southern Echo, and we're a leadership training and development organization based in Jackson. I live in Greenville, and we're providing technical assistance to the Tallahatchie County Redistricting Committee in conjunction with this redistricting. And in fact, we've been working together about 12 years now around the redistricting process here in the county. We have 2 plans that we want to present. We presented them this afternoon in Sumner with a lot of supporting materials, which I'm not going to give out again because you now have them. We have sets for you too, which I hope they brought along so that you can have them, so they should be available. This is the first. Can you all see this from here? At this end? And can you see it from over here? Okay, this is our first plan. We have 2 different plans, and I'll discuss them in sequence and describe the different approach that we took in each one. First of all, our orientation has been to draw plans which reflected certain specific values which are rooted in the laws by which we are bound to comply in the drawing of plans, and values which have to do with enabling the community to have an effective opportunity to impact the formation of public policy through the Board of Supervisors. as was described to you by both Attorney Reynolds and Mr. Johnson, the first requirement that we need to be concerned about under the 1962 Supreme Court decision in Reynolds versus Sims is that the districts must be relatively equal in size in order to comply with the one person, one vote requirement under the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. With that in mind, we drew districts that were relatively equal in population size as required. Although you have an allowance under the law to have a variance among the districts or a deviation up to 10%, the deviation on this plan is only 33/100ths of 1%, or 0.33, about as close to zero as you can get until you see the second plan, in which we got even closer. Okay. So this is what the plan looks like. This is proposed District 1 in the yellow. This is proposed District 2 in the brown. This is proposed District 3 in the green. This is proposed District 4 in the pink. And this is proposed District 5 in the... Now, one of the other criteria, as has already been indicated, with which we must comply, is that the districts be contiguous, that all parts of the district must be touching. And you can see in the shapes of these districts that we don't have any problem at all with contiguity. What a word, right? Contiguity, okay? In addition, we sought to comply with another criteria that is frequently used in redistricting, and that is that the districts be relatively compact. Now, what that means is that each of the districts has an identifiable core around which the district is built. And you can see that in each one of these districts, you have an identifiable core around which the district is built, as opposed to the kinds of districts which the court decisions have brought into question, where you have something that looks like a piece of spaghetti, a snake, a very thin district winding around, or a starburst, starfish, and so on. So we sought to make these districts, if I can use a more common term, we want to make them look good, all right? Another criterion with which we sought to comply was that we would not go backwards, or backslide, or lose ground that had been gained in the past in creating reasonable opportunity for the community to elect representatives who would be accountable and responsive to the needs and interests of the community. And a companion principle to that is that we sought to draw these districts in a way that would not dilute black voting strength. That is to say, to draw these districts in a way that would not hinder, undermine, or limit the ability of the community to elect representatives of its choice through the techniques or devices that are available to do that in the redistricting process. Last but not least, and I stress that, last but not least, our orientation was to draw these districts with communities of interest in mind. The question we ask is, what kind of common ground do people have? What kinds of policies were they concerned about? And we held meetings in Charleston, West, and Glendora over the past 2 to 3 months. There's at least a dozen meetings in which we had discussions about this and these other questions. And these plans, both of them, came out of what those who were participating in these meetings said they wanted to do. These were not creations that came out of my head in isolation of what the community was indicating to do. And for those who may want to come up and look at these plans more closely, you have an inset for Charleston, which more clearly illustrates by street, what's going on, the same in Sumner and the same in Webb. And for those who come up, you'll see that the gray lines indicate what the town boundaries are in each of these cases, so you'll know what's inside Charleston, what's out, what's inside Sumner, what's out, what's inside Webb, and what's out. Now, in this first plan, we sought to create a second district here, which was oriented around the Charleston, which was designed to try to put back together, to the extent possible, the black community that Mr. Gardner expressed in his opening remarks he felt had been badly split in the plan that had come out of that was drawn by the master in the federal court in the litigation that ensued from the negotiations around the redistricting starting in 1991. And so there was some effort to do that in order to give the community a reasonable and effective opportunity to elect representatives who would be sensitive, understanding, responsive to the needs, the issues which the black community has had around policy questions. And I'll give just two examples of what folks have been talking about. There's a deep concern about the employment policy at the county level in terms of perpetuation of discriminatory practices in connection with how department heads and other employees are selected. This is a long-term problem. It has not been resolved. The concern is that unless people are elected who can be strong on this issue in eliminating past and present discriminatory practices, that it won't be possible to change those policies. That the Board of Supervisors has, as a matter of policy, direct control over these issues, and they want something done about it. Unless they have a reasonable and effective opportunity to elect people, regardless of whether they're black or white, but elect people who have the capacity to make decisions like that to end those kinds of practices, that these practices will continue. Second kind of policy that people were talking about was the fact that notwithstanding that the Board of Supervisors, since the last redistricting, got 2 grants from the state for the purposes of building public parks to which the black community would have access for the first time in a very long time. Those parks were not built, have not been built. In fact, that money, as I understand it, was returned rather than spent because the community had insisted on those parks being located in areas to which the black community would have effective access. And I remember the debate that went on around that and the very contentious meetings and hearings that went on around that only a few years ago. So these are the kinds of policy issues which illustrate that even today there are substantive policy differences between communities around these kinds of things. It's unfortunate, but it's the reality. And in order to do something about that, the community has an expectation that it needs to find, elect, support, I should say find, support, and candidates who have the temerity to change those policies, whether those candidates are white or black. The community has to have enough strength in those districts to be able to find people who will feel that they can take those tough stands and know that they've got sufficient support in the community to get into office and then to stay in office. Because those are legitimate concerns of anyone who's going to be a candidate. But it's a legitimate concern of the voters as to whether they can have candidates who can take those kinds of tough positions. Now, in April of 2001, the United States Supreme Court said in Hunt versus Cromartie, a North Carolina case, that it is appropriate and reasonable for a public body such as the Board of Supervisors or a legislature or a town to take these issues, these policy issues, these political issues into account in determining how to construct, how to put together these districts. As Johnson indicated, that's essentially what redistricting is. It's a matter of putting together district boundaries based on where people live and in conjunction with the kinds of principles that we've been talking about, that we have a duty and obligation with which to comply. So that was the logic on this first plan. And to show you what happened here, but you can't see it from there, in the first district in this Plan 1, the population deviation, that is to say the number of people who were greater than or less than the ideal being 2,981, was exactly 0. The number of people in this district were 2,981. In the second district, the deviation, again, was exactly 0. Not greater, not lesser, but right on the money. In the third district, we had 4 persons greater than the ideal. In the 5th district, we had 6 persons less than the ideal. In the 4th district, 6 persons less than the ideal. And in the 5th district, we had, again, exactly 0 deviation, which is how we came out with a total deviation of only 0.33%, or 33/100%. In terms of the racial breakdown, and under the Supreme Court decision in Hunt versus Cromartie, the court reiterated that it is permissible to take race into account in drawing these plans, as long as it's not the sole factor that you're taking into account in drawing these plans. And in any event, you have to take it into account in order to comply with the requirements under the 1965 Voting Rights Act, because you have to look at the issue of vote dilution, and you have to look at the issue of retrogression, or not sliding backwards. So in the first district, the white voting age percentage, in this first district here in the yellow, the white voting age percentage is 71.57, and the black voting age percentage is 27.26. In the second proposed district, the white voting age percentage is 29.56, and the black voting age percentage is 69.53. In the third district, which is the green, the white voting age percentage is 72.41, and the black voting age percentage is 26.87. In the fourth district, the white, that's the pink down here, the white voting age percentage is 25.51, and the black voting age percentage is 73.63. In the fifth proposed district, the blue on the western side, the white voting age percentage is 18.2, and the black voting age percentage is 81.19. So that's how this particular plan looks. And if you come up and you take a close look at it, you'll see that some of the streets and roads are indicated to facilitate seeing the relationship among the districts. This is the second plan. Now, in this second plan, again, we had to proceed with the same framework of issues and laws with which we sought to comply and around which we oriented our plan. In this plan, the deviation, or the difference between the largest and smallest districts, is even smaller than in the first plan. In this plan, it's 0.10, or 0.010%. So if you have a total permissible deviation of 10%, this is even less than 1%. It's just 1/10 of 1%, okay? Now you can see immediately that we created a different orientation here for the proposed second district. One of the requests that came to us from community was to see if it was possible to draw a suitable and appropriate plan which brought the second district all the way down to the south county line, with the county line on the southern part of the district, to enable the folks in here to become part of a district in common with the folks up in the Charleston area, so that they could work together on these policy issues which I had previously described. Some of the other issues which people were talking about, in addition to the ones I mentioned about employment policies and recreation, centered around such things as effective access to health care in the county, and transportation and roads issues, and the quality of public education, which, while the supervisors don't run the school districts, they can have some significant impact on the kinds of resources that the school districts have, and they can work together with boards to try to generate for the county the kinds of dollars the county needs to support properly the school districts on both the west and the east side. And we know that education is of central concern and importance to everybody, and especially those whose children attend the public schools. So, this is District 1, as you saw before. Oh, and I need to apologize. I was going to start off. I need to apologize to our representative from the second district, because without intention, but clearly having made the error, by one census block, we left him out of the district in both plans, and we did not intend to do that. Okay, this one district, this one census block right over here should have been included in this district, and it wasn't, but it's a very easy change to make. As my father-in-law, when he was alive, used to say, it's why they have erasers on pencils. But in the modern technology, we would say that's why they have a start editing button on the computer, so that you can go in and correct the mistakes that you make. But this is real easy to correct. So this is the second district here, going from above Charleston all the way down to the bottom. This is 3, again in the green. Brown is 2, yellow is 1, pink is 4, and the blue is 5, okay? The population percentages in terms of the racial categories come this way. Well, let me start with the deviation first. In District 1, we have a deviation of 1 person below the ideal or the norm. In District 2, it's exactly 0, no deviation. In District 3, it's exactly 0, no deviation one way or the other. In District 4, it's 2 persons below the ideal. And in District 5, it's plus 1 person above the ideal. So your total deviation comes to 0.10. In the first district, the white voting age percentage is 66.48. The black voting age percentage is 32.92. That's in this district. In the second district, the white voting age percentage is 27.12. And the black voting age percentage is 72.25. That's this district. In the third district, the white voting age percentage is 77.89, and the black voting age percentage is 21.2. It's in the third district. In the fourth district, the white voting age percentage is 26.14, and the black voting age percentage is 73.01. And in the fifth district, the white voting age percentage is 20.62, and the black voting age percentage is 78.07. Again, we have an inset for Charleston, so you can see more clearly what's happening here, and the gray boundary shows the town line. In Sumner, we have the same thing, and in Webb, again, here. So those are basically the frameworks of these two plans. At this point, we're not expressing a preference for either one. We would like the board to consider both. We also intend to submit additional plans as we go along, if that seems appropriate as things unfold. And last but not least, the Tallahatchie County Redistricting Committee has asked me to indicate to the board that we would be very interested in setting up a schedule of discussions or negotiations in an open meeting format here in the courthouse or over in Sumner, we did last time, in order to assist in expediting the timetable on this so that we can discuss back and forth the various concerns, preferences, disagreements, and so forth, so that we can move to creating whatever alternate proposals might help move the process. And we have put together a negotiating committee, as we did last time, and we would like very much to meet with the board as a whole, its attorney and its demographers, in some sort of systematic way, like we did last time, because we actually, up to a point, we actually came to a solution through that negotiation process. It did unravel. I don't know how many of you here remember what happened, but after we had the agreement, it did unravel. Supervisors backed up, and that's why we wound up going to court. And I'm not saying that other than to indicate that the negotiation process, we believe, can work, and we think it would be a positive undertaking. The worst that can happen is that we wind up disagreeing. The best that can happen is that we can expedite common ground to solve whatever differences there are. So we want to put that on the table in addition to the public hearings that you're going to have anyway, but this would create a format for how to pursue exploring how we might come to a final common ground that everyone can live with. So I'm open to any questions, or I'll sit down if you prefer.
Yeah. Any questions? Yes. Next participant.
Is there any question from the audience?
I have one question I'd like to ask. What's the biggest difference between proposal number 2 and B2?
What's the biggest difference?
What's the major difference?
Well,
Wait a minute. Will you please stand up and say your name?
Oh, I'm sorry, my name is Leon.
Identify you and...
And the court reporter's taking down everything.
Leon, Leon,
what do I do with the other? If
No, I'm talking about his proposal.
Plan one of the plans.
That's the current plan we have there.
This is a proposal.
And which one of those plans more closely resembles?
I'm not going to assess the second question, but I think you can look visually. I'll hold this one up. Am I holding this at a good angle? You can see visually that Plan 1, which is in my hands, and Plan 2, can you all see? Plan 2 have a different geographic framework for 2. Plan 1 tends to be oriented, I don't have a third hand to point with, okay? You can see the Brown District, right? Oh, thank you. You can see that the orientation stops here, similar here, but it tends to stop here, okay? Not tends to, it does, obviously. Plan 2, as you can see, runs all the way down the west side of Highway 35 to the Tallahatchie County line, okay? So clearly, 2 and 3 have different orientations as between the first plan and the second plan. The folks in in this area came to more than one of the meetings to express their concern that they would like to see an opportunity to be included in the district with the folks up in this area. So we drew one to reflect that orientation. And many of the people in the Charleston area in our meetings expressed the concern about this kind of, I guess I'm going far back, how to put this kind of orientation together around Charleston. At this point, as a committee, we have not sought to take a position or a preference as between these two, but rather wanted to present both viewpoints to the board as part of its considerations. And in this next period of time, we will also be discussing the significance of this and other input that we are continuing to get about what the alternatives might look like. And that's partly why we would like to open up an ongoing discussion with you on a regular basis, because your input to us will help us think through the problem-solving questions that we're going to have to address. And we're hoping that our input back to you, since we're actively involved in talking with folks in different parts of the county, will help you address the problem-solving questions that the demographer and the attorney and the board have to face. And that communication, hopefully, will have a leavening effect rather than a dividing effect.
My name is John Stevens. I'm in B3. And the way the second one is drawn, I believe it would be more benefit to the people in
Mr. John.
Mr.
John,
Yeah.
have you found out one of these?
Yeah.
Well, I'll allow you to ask a question now, but I won't allow you to speak. You would have to fill out one of these to address.
I have filled out one. I have filled out one.
Go
I
ahead.
believe this second plan here will be more benefit to B3 and B4 than that one will.
Okay? Okay?
See, we have road problems down there, we have water problems, and all. Sunday morning when I got up, I had to put on my boots to get out of the house. And I brought a picture of it along with me.
Okay. I think that needs to be addressed to the Board of Supervisors.
I've been scorned about this 16 or 17 years, asking to get this water out of there. See, the water all the way from the old John Deere place come right down through Duquesne, and it comes right through where I live at. If it come a 2-inch rain, I practically have water in my house. And it's done right in my house. My floors is rotten. And I've been begging. I had B3 supervisor went to him and asked him to come down there and look at it. I ain't seen him. And ain't no use biting my tongue and say he is. He did not show up. I asked him to come, and he did not show up. And I don't think that's serving it. B3.
My name is Dr. Stuart Lindman. I think credit for me needs to be given what you said first thing, probably about the way that these lines should be drawn. It shouldn't look like a snake, or it shouldn't look like a spaghetti, or it shouldn't look like starburst here. you got to go back to the drawing board. Both of those plans are starburst. If you look at Charleston, nothing else could be more starburst than what you've drawn here.
Well,
So
actually,
if you can't have that, why did you present those plans today?
oh, actually, you talking about this one?
Yes.
Well, I don't know if you've looked at a lot of redistricting plans.
I haven't looked at any.
Well, let me finish.
If you had, could not have them in that shape.
But you need to let me finish my answer.
I will.
Okay, because I was just in the beginning of the sentence, okay? If you haven't seen a lot of plans and haven't read a lot of cases about how they decide these things, believe me, this is pretty. This is very pretty. It's very difficult to draw squares. And if you can look at the county itself is anything but a square or a rectangle. You will have what I would call irregularities, and you will have some degree of deviation from a perfect circle or a perfect rectangle or a perfect square. The cases which talk about starbursts or talk about spaghetti strips, you have to look at those maps. They're extraordinary. You'll have this tiny little core, and you'll have 8, 10, 12, 14 tentacles, octopus-type-like tentacles going out. That you have only a teeny little bit of that. And this is, believe me, very clean compared to what I was talking about. The problem is when you have parts of a district which are a block wide, a street wide, you know, and it goes zinging out for 2 miles. Or you have 14 or 15 legs that come off this tiny little center, and the people on one end of the district have little relationship to people on the other end, and it stretches for miles and miles and miles. That's what they're talking about in that situation, okay? And you have to be somewhat adaptable, because this isn't just about geography, and it isn't just about geometry, because you have legal principles with which you have to comply. You have the one person, one vote principles, you have the 1965 Voting Rights Act principles, and the kinds of irregularity that you see here is very minor in relation to the kinds of things that are permitted to be done to ensure compliance with those principles, okay? So I appreciate what you're saying, but I also appreciate what it takes to draw these plans. And if you look at the old plans, you know, you'll see that no one of them is a rectangle or a square, and they rarely are. They have different reasons why they meander here and there. Sometimes it's the shape of a road, sometimes it's the shape of a river that is a boundary for one of the districts. Sometimes it's because you're dividing up populations in order to comply with the deviation requirements or with the vote dilution issues. Those are all of the elements that combined go into resulting in the look of the district.
The next thing is here, things that are untrue. I have very little tolerance for people to tell me untruth. It brought you said that one of the reasons that we needed new leadership here in the county was because of the parks and the county workers.
No, I didn't say anything about the county workers.
What did you say?
I said there was a problem about parks not being created that were supposed to be created, and there was an issue about employment policies.
It bothers me that people from the outside really don't understand that when you say we don't want parks and we don't want things, the real reason we didn't want the parks here is because we didn't have a law enforcement here. All of us here want our children to have a good education. It's not a person here. There's not a person here that doesn't want our children safe. There's not a person here that wants to fix a park so that our kids will be shot, murdered, and things like that. That's the reason the parks are not gone. So this bothers me here when you go and you have what you presented here, and this is not the truth. It looks to me like the whole gist of this thing is on D2, and where all the deviation is occurring here. And I do not think even the first plan, I think, is certainly starburst. The second plan, you said, that was for better education and for the health. Can you tell me if someone lives on...
Those issues were for both plans.
The person that lives on the south part of that has a choice of coming to Tallahatchie General Hospital here or going to Greenwood for medical treatment here, if they're going to come to Charleston.
Are you making a statement or are you asking me a
I'm
question?
asking a question.
I'm not going to speak for someone.
No, you don't know.
It's hypothetical.
And that's why we
Well,
need
actually,
people
you know,
in.
I'm not going to answer that hypothetical
It's
question.
not a hypothetical. If you were having a heart attack and you went on the south end of that county, where would you come?
Your point is what?
I want to know where you would go. You said it was important because of the health care.
Yeah, for the whole county. For the whole county, it's not just people in the second district. When you're talking about making policy decisions at the supervisor level, we're talking about making decisions that will affect everybody. The reason why people are concerned about having representatives who are willing to make these tough decisions is because they'll affect everybody all over the county, not just in that particular district. With meaning no disrespect, I think you misconstrued what I was driving at. I said we were looking at the second district as a way of building communities of interest to be able to elect someone concerned about those issues. But those issues reflect everyone's needs in the county, not just those people in that district.
I certainly think our person that was elected supervisor in District 2 had all these things in his mind. And I think he was broad spectrum, but broad-minded enough here that he took other considerations in there. And our health part here is a real concern to me. The safety of our children here is a concern to me. And the education certainly is here. And I can't see where you're going to better it any at all by giving these as a reason.
Any more questions concerning the two plans that been introduced?
Mike Ron. One quick question, just the total variance, is that 10% countywide or 10% per people?
No, no, when the
What's allowed
principles
by
of
law?
variation or deviation apply, it's for the county as a whole. You take the variance or deviation in the largest district, and you add it to the deviation or variance in the smallest district, and that gives you a deviation for the county as a whole. So you're allowed total 10% for the whole county.
For all 5 beats combined as well?
Yes,
That's
yes,
solid.
absolutely. Yeah. Otherwise, if you're up to 10%, you have a 50% deviation that you could do. That's
Yes, Mr. Woods.
My name is Kelly Woods. I wanted to ask a question. Are we going to be able to see the supervisor proposal for the, are they proposing that district?
Let me answer that. What will be occurring, I would anticipate, is that there will be other public hearings. You know, when they will consider all these submissions that are made today and any other submissions that any other people will have. These will be, I'm sure, available for the citizens, and other submissions will be available for citizens, and this data will be available for citizens to look at that the demographers have provided. And I'm sure in the coming weeks and days that other individuals, you know, they may wish to make submissions or statements. So those will be available. And these submissions, as well as other submissions, I'm sure they will consider. Now, before the adoption of a final plan, there will be other public hearing or hearings on that. So that there will be an opportunity to comment and make citizen input in regard to a final plan before the plan is submitted, and before the plan is adopted and submitted. So there will be other opportunity, but during the interim period of time, any citizen, I think, would be encouraged to make a comment on the existing, any of the proposals submitted, or offer their own suggestions or proposals. That's just part of their rights so to do. And, you know, those submissions and everything that you do submit, though we do want to keep a record of, now the court reporter is making an exhibit of everything that is being submitted and being stated today. If any are turned in, we would appreciate they be turned in so that they could be turned in to our Chancery Clerk. Will be in receipt of those, and we will try to keep a record of anything that is submitted. If anything is submitted to me, of course, I will make add it to the record as well. But please don't consider this the only opportunity for submission of suggestions and proposed plans. And there will be a final hearing, at least that, before the adoption of plans in this, other public hearings. And notice will be given probably in the newspapers or otherwise.
Mr. Kim?
My name is Jerome Kim. I have a question, Mr. Sayre. Mr. Sayre, were you invited to this community by the redistricting community?
Yes, sir.
Was any of these plans your plans, or was it come from the issues of concern about the people of this community?
Served as the technician to put together what people at the meeting said they wanted to put together for two plans. The reason we had two plans was in order to experiment with or explore two different, you know, notions of how to deal with, you know, this area.
So you are not an outsider coming to dignity. You was invited in by the Tallahatchie County Redistricting. Is that not correct?
Yeah, ever since 1989.
Thank you.
I'm going to proceed to call out some names. Yes, sir.
I just want to make one comment, just very short.
Mr.
C.D. Butler.
Mr. Butler.
I was thinking about what Dr. Dillman said.
Mr. Butler, give your address.
Huh?
You got it, okay, good.
That's what I noticed it. But one reason I came up here, and I'm not criticizing any of the redistricting thing, but I've seen so many look like jigsaw puzzles. So it looks to me like it's making more sense because it's more blocked out. And I think what Dr. Dunn was talking about, he don't understand why that them little things are stuck up and down in there. And I don't either, but I'm not criticizing, but I think that's his point, and I don't think the reason has been brought out.
I wish you could see more clearly. You know, we talk about these things called census blocks.
Yeah, but is that roads up and down like that, or why?
Let me just answer that, because I'm going right where you're
Okay.
asking. If you could see, if I could put on a projector what the census blocks look like, that are used as the building blocks.
That's people you're talking about, not
Yeah,
roads.
That's right. Well, but here's the point. The census blocks conform to various kinds of boundaries. Streets, rivers, streams, creeks, and so forth, roads and so on, those kinds of things. So the census block configuration or outline are not these little neat squares or rectangles. And if you looked here, you can see some which are huge, you know, and shaped like that, for reasons we don't know, except that's the way the roads are run. And some are nice and neat. But in order to build the plan, you have to build them with these blocks. And sometimes on the edges of your district, you can have some weird looking census blocks that complete the outer perimeter of a plan. And you can't make them go square because the road or the river or the street that they were using to create the block. See, these blocks are created by people who work for the Census Bureau, right? That's how they make them, okay? And we don't want to split census blocks. You don't want to cut the census block up because you can't tell where people live inside a census block.
It's census blocks, and that sounds good.
Right, right. See, if I could show you what they look like more easily, you have to come up here and look, but it's not so easy to say. But if you saw just the block, the map over it, you have to envision this map as sitting on top of several thousand census blocks, okay? And you put all of these things together, because that's where the people are, and that's how you know how many people there are, because you have so many people in each block, depending on what the census data shows. That's how you put together a district. And so some districts will have many more census blocks than others. Look at, I mean, Charleston's got all these teeny little blocks in it, because it's a city. You come out in the rural area, you got this huge block, 10 times the size of Charleston and 1/10 the number of people in it. That's the dilemma. That's what makes it not neat. You know, it's not nifty the way it could be, because they're using natural boundaries to create the census blocks. Roads, streets, rivers, streams, creeks, and so forth. And, you know, we didn't make those things. They came into existence. So that's the dilemma making it neat.
Yes, sir.
My name is Myron Douglas. I have two questions. One, what type of a time frame are we, and when I say we, I mean the people of Tallahatchie County, the Board of Supervisors, the Redistricting Committee, what type of a time frame do we have to come up with an acceptable plan? And if we, as a people of Tallahatchie County, do not come up with an acceptable plan, will the U.S. Justice Department come in here and redraw the as they see it?
Well, the Justice Department won't draw districts, period. They don't do that. The time frame you're on is working backwards from your first primary, right? Your primary is going to be in 2003. You got a qualification period.
No.
Qualified deadline is March of 2003. March 1st.
Qualified date will be August the 1st. The primary will be the first Tuesday in August of 2003. So,
Qualified deadline is March 1st.
like I said, the qualifying date is March the 1st.
Oh, that's right, qualified date.
Then the primary is the first Tuesday in August, whatever date that may be. The time frame is trying to get a suitable plan that will work is to the Justice Department within this calendar year. Hopefully we don't got it there. Let it be on set there 2 or 3 months, because they're going to take 60 days. They're going to take 60 days. And this new Justice Department, but I'm talking about the experience we don't have in the past, they usually take 60 days. Because what they do is they wait to get input from the community. They wait at least 30 days just to see, is anybody down here going to holler about it? Then they take another 30 days to start evaluating it. And then how many plans in front of ours? And what's going on in Afghanistan and what's going on with Hussein and all that. So once that happens, so we're going to try to move to try to get a plan out of here by August. I'm going to be pushing that myself as a supervisor, because we got to try to get that to justice. Let it sit there 60 to 90 days. And if we get a big complaint from the community against a plan, it let it sit there, and then they go call for more information, and they can run it into qualified date. But to answer your question, the second part of your question is, if we don't get a plan to justice, what will probably have to happen is that justice or some court would have to say to us, yes, you can go on and qualify any candidates under the present plan. And we run, if the court approve it, run under the present plan, or they may say, no, you can't run under the present plan and let everybody sit here until we get a plan cleared by justice. So that's the scenario. If we don't get a plan cleared, it could either one way. They could make us let us run under the same plan, qualify all candidates, qualify on that plan, and we run, may put us in a position where we just sit here. If you recall, there's Greenville was an example of that. You don't have some school boards across the state sit, and they sit till they finally got a plan, and that could be years. So that's the worst scenario. I feel that we got now, we done been through this before, and with Mr. Reynolds down, and with the redistricting committee, and this board of supervisors, and the tumultus we got, and the commitment that we can't afford to, if we gonna cost us money if we don't go to court. If we drag it out, it's gonna cost this kind of money that we can't afford. So it's gonna put up on us to move fastly and quickly, but being fair to get a plan out of here by August, or just September at the latest. So I hope that answers your question. I'm gonna proceed if there's no more questions concerning this plan, to give people a chance to speak if they wish to. Ms. Judy Denver, is I'm pronouncing that name right? You wish to say anything?
No.
Mr. Willie Hill, right? Mr. Hill?
William Hill, not Willie.
Willie, Mr. Hill?
William.
William Hill. Mr. Kendall? Gerald.
I'm gonna try to be brief. My name is Jerome Kim. I'm with the Tallahatchie County. I know a lot of work, a lot of community, a lot of time has went into coming up with those plans. I've been a part of a lot of those meetings, and I strongly feel that those plans will give people of interest a fair chance to elect a person of their choice that have the same interests they do. I think that the plan did not do that. I think that when you get peoples that are closer together, that do things together, go to the same churches, they have a tendency to bond together, as opposed to stringing people in 3 different cities. I'm in District 2, the last existence, I believe we went from Charleston way up Summer and Brazil. So I think that was this was being compiled together. So I strongly ask our board to look strong at these 2 plans and try to come with something that's very close to one of those plans. And I want to speak briefly. No one here has an interest in heart no more than we do. We want a plan that's effective, that's going to be the best interest for the entire community. One that's not going to cause us a lot of problems like we did before, going to court. We hope we want to go through all that. We hope that we can do it. We can if we sit down and work together and come. That's fair. And we all know what's fair. So I strongly urge our board to look at those plans very carefully and try to come with something very close to those plans. Thank you.
Mr. Roberts, Larry Roberts.
Ed Roberts. I think we've got a good board. I think they've got sense enough to come up with a good plan. I think that they can take the plan that's here, the plan that they got from previous years, they can sit down and they can come up with a plan to work for Tallahatchie County. The redistricting committee, I have nothing against anybody. A lot of them are my friends. But I asked this question to the board of supervisors, who appointed them? Did you? If you did, why is it one race? How come it's not both races? To set up a plan, if that's what you want, for Tallahatchie County. Something's wrong with Tallahatchie County when we got one faction here fighting this faction over here and this one over here. We're fighting each other. If we're going to make things work, we've got to work together. That's why I say we've got a working board. The working board ought to sit down and devise a plan and bring it to the people of Tallahatchie County. Say, let's discuss it and go from there.
The board of supervisors did not appoint anybody or designate anybody as anything other than themselves. and these two consultants here. But anybody is free, you know, as this committee or any other committee or anybody can bring forward any kind of plans or, and encourage to, but they not and have not designated as any body, but they're willing to receive comments from anybody. And nobody is designated as anything other than as citizens that they want to have input from. And everybody stands on equal ground.
Mr. Mike Ronville?
Oh, yes. That's Mike Ronville, Charleston, Mississippi. First thing I noticed right there on that proposed plan and the other proposed plan, I know for a fact that one was set up by Judge Neil Biggers with the U.S. Justice Department, appointed him when my father was District 1 supervisor. That we've completely flip-flopped 2 or 3 beats right there that it just doesn't make any demographic sense to me. Now, I'm not a demographer, you know, that's not my issue, but I'm looking at the stats here and everything, and the comment was made about splitting up Charleston. Well, I've lived in the same place for 13 years, just about 3 blocks from the courthouse here, and I've lived in 3 different beats. I mean, I know that comes with census changes and population changes and all that, and it's time to do it again. But I would see that more as conspiracy and collusion more than compromise right there, what's going on here, because, I mean, I'm looking at 3 different beats right here in the county that are already, with voting age and percent voting, are completely, you know, high numbers of over white. And we have, I know I'm very much aware, we have 3 white supervisors, we have 2 black supervisors. I'm not trying to call race an issue here. But, you know, that looks like to me, the way that's being set up in the stats he gave on the black and white voters there, we're going 4 black and only 1 white. Excuse me, it was more or less 3 high black and 2 white, which that's understandable. I know the 65 Voting Rights Act, I've read that and all that, and it is supposed to be that way because we have 60% population almost black and 40% white. And I mean, I know it's supposed to be set up that way. But the way that's pretty much established right there, we're all over as 4 with the high black percentage and only 1 in one of those proposals. Now I'm saying 1 left with pretty much high white. And I think that's kind of getting unfair. I'm not a demographer or anything like that, but it just looks like to me that we completely flip-flop those around, and I'm not taking up the starburst issue or anything like that, but it's just been a lot of land there that looks like to me that's been just totally put to one advantage or whatever. I know how natural boundaries run. I mean, you can look at the foot of the county, that river that encircles the bottom of the county, that's the way it's always been. I don't know, that's pretty much all I've got to say, but looking at the stats here, and I'm looking at the map there, and it just looks like some of the proposal is unfair. Like I say, it's only proposed. It hasn't been chiseled in stone or anything like that. But I think there definitely needs to be a compromise on either one of those proposed plans. And I'm sure it will, and I'm sure it'll probably wind up with the federal magistrate having to handle it again. Because, I mean, it's been that way about every time. All I had to say is just a comment and opinion. Thank you.
Ms. Campbell.
My name is Carolyn Talley, and we, as the community and citizens of Tallahatchie County, have met at many meetings, and this is what we have presented to our committee. And I'd like to appreciate Mr. Mike and Redistricting Committee. We strongly support those 2 plans.
Mr. Curtis Davis.
I'm Curtis Davis. Used to be in beat 4, now I'm in beat 3. Now they don't put me in beat 2. I must be like a blind mule, and they just don't put me where they want. But anyway, the way they've got this drawn off, it don't look like it's drawn off for the people of the county, but drawn off for just a few individuals, is the way I look at it. That's all I'm going to say.
Mr. C.B. Miller?
I have any more to say except I feel the same way they do. It's when the man was speaking a while ago said that was the census. They reasoned the census to make the points that they want to bring it over.
Mr. Myron Douglas?
Be picking up the same.
I just wanted to say, you know, I was born and reared in this county, and there's always been something going either here or there. But, you know, we as people in this county, it's always been this way. It's always been a fight. But we do have a board of supervisors, you know, and just like Mr. Roberts said, you know, most everybody in this room are my friends. But I know that we have intelligent people in this county. We have intelligent people in this county who can sit down and come to the table, discuss this issue, and come up with something that's fair for all the citizens of this county.
Mr. Kelly Woods?
I'm gonna have that question to ask that I asked before. I, looking at the proposed district committee I brought, I agree with that, but as I said, I would like, and Mr. Reynolds answered that, I would like to see that proposal so it'll give you a clear understanding, clear what your input might want to be. If their proposal is similar or not similar, better or less, then we'll know what our input can be. And I guess Mr. Reynolds will answer that. Thank you.
Does anyone have one of these sheets that you did not turn in, that you'd like to turn in?
My name is Janice Salisbury. I'm a citizen of Tallahatchie County. And I also have attended some of the redistricting meetings. We have expressed what we believe to be fair and just, and we encourage the Board of Supervisors to give our plans strong consideration. We reflect up our plans looking at what we considered community interest, and we stress that you look at these plans because it's important that Tallahatchie County grow. And if you look at Tallahatchie County from former years up to now, there has been very little growth in Tallahatchie County, and it is just high time that the county start utilizing the resources it has and start growing. And we think that those districts, as they are designated, provide just that, an avenue for growth in Tallahatchie County.
I don't have too much to say. I said basically everything I say on the west side of the county, but I'm going to ask my supervisors and all the rest of the supervisors, if you will, try to support those two plans there. I don't see any reason for you all wasting any time back to the board trying to draw some more plans. We've already done these for you free, so it don't cost you anything. So you all to go ahead on and adopt those, and that will be a starting point for you to work from.
Jonathan Thomas?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, Johnny B. Thomas. Just looking at the proposed stats coming from the county side and the existing district, we find that the county is approximately 55% African American. We look in the community, we see no department heads of African American status. Those that attempt and are qualified for positions in this county or put in second place when they're qualified, most qualified person. And the only way to change that is that this county fair and right thing as all the other counties surrounding us. Normally, we should be asking for 4 districts, but since we're so fair, we're going to only ask for 3 in this county that are approximately 60% African American. And we will never change what we have here as long as we keep in place the same old mentality. This county can advance and it will advance. However, I see some good supervisors here, and I definitely would love to see other plans as I've worked, at least 1 or 2 more plans that will affect District 1 as a possible African American district, District 3 as a possible African American district, and not just look at somebody so we won't be singled out and say we're just harassing. Mr. Denman, your District 2 supervisor. Let's look at the others as well. But in this county with 55% African American population, we definitely should be 3, if not 4. But we're going to leave it 3 too because we want to be fair in this county.
Mr. Gardner, you have anything else? You have anything else?
No, I don't have it.
Mr. East?
Thought you never would get me drawn. I'm Paul Eastridge, and did we use more plans before I got here?
This is the sole plan that's been presented, but anybody's free to present any kind of plan.
Well, I mean, what about your plan and?
Well, see, no, they hadn't drawn one.
Okay, okay.
They're gonna get input and then they'll.
Just like to echo what my friend Myron Douglas said about, I think we have plenty of intelligent people in Tallahatchie County, and I think with the makeup that we've got with the 2 demographers and the board of supervisors and concerned citizens, we can sit down here and draw us a plan that will be acceptable to all the people. I'm talking about plans, and folks, I don't know as much plans as anybody in this house. And I've dealt with them too. I'm the doctor that has to get all y'all in the right place so you vote on election day. And I'd like to see, personally, at least change or the makeup of the districts as we can get by with and stay within the guidelines of the Justice Department of Voting Rights in 1985. That's about all I got to say, until I see the other plans.
Mrs. Fountain? Mr. Gooden?
Have nothing to say at this time, Your Honor.
Mr. Hodges? Mr. Tribble? Mr. Banks?
Only thing I have to say is I thank everybody for coming, and I really appreciate input on, because for my sake, because it helped me really decide really what way I feel like my life needs to go. And I really appreciate everybody, for all of this time, and I try to represent all of y'all.
Myself, real true. I'd also like to thank all of you all for coming. It's been a fruitful day. I've enjoyed it because, like I stated this morning, that this is a different area. We have come a long ways in 9 years. I remember when the redistricting was done back in 1, the atmosphere wasn't like this. And also, this is history. The day at 2 o'clock and the night at 6:30, Tallahatchie County done turned another turn. It done made history. This had never been done before. This is the first public hearing ever held by the Board of Supervisors in 107 years about redistricting. It never been done. All the other meetings have been forced by a lawsuit. This time it was done because this board wanted to do what's right. And the citizens of this county want to see things done what's right. So we here tonight, we got that done. And I'm very proud and thank God that I will be a part of that. The fight of 9 years ago, I had a dream that we would come to this, and we done got here. Not saying that we not gonna got a ways to go yet, and I'm glad to hear some, and that's why we are. I'm, as a supervisor of District 5 and chairman of the board, pushed to try to make sure that we get a plan out of here by September. My colleagues and I sit down at the board table every month to try to find ways to make sure we pay these bills. I don't want to see us spend some money that we don't have to spend. At the same time, 10 years ago, and also 20 years ago, if you recall, we don't have to go through lawsuits the last 20 years. And we just got to pay some bills off 4 years ago, from 20 years ago, off of lawsuits. So we don't need that. We got good people. We got a good circuit clerk. We got good people sitting at the table. We can sit down and do it. I'm going to be asking you to put this negotiation team together as quick as possible. And also ask the committee to put a negotiation team together. Let us sit down on the table next week and get started on this. We get paid. We can't say, well, we got something else to do. This is what our jobs are. That's what you all sent us here for. You sent us here to find a way to make it work. Find a way to bring us together. That's our job. That's our charge. And I accept that charge. I accept the charge as the people from B5, and I accept the charge as my colleagues elevate me to the position. So we're going to sit down and start. And if we can't get there, it won't be because we didn't try. And we're going to move. If we have to stay, have 6:30 meetings at night to get a plan done, that we won't be that far off. But I feel like everybody, all of us in the state, in this county, we don't come too far to go back now. So we're going to sit down and try to make something work. I realize that for the ship, that the B5 may not look the same. But if that's what let it be. If that's what it's going to take to keep litigation. For lowering the process. Like I said ago, lawsuits not only cost. If we don't have a plan and we stay in position and this thing still drag on, it's kind of money. Because as long as them guys there, they looking out for our interests, but we got to pay them. We got to pay them. Don't blame them. I'll be making that good money too. We got to play them. That's what I got to tell them. They there because they getting paid. Not that they ain't doing a good job. So that's their job. We want to try to get this done. Get on out of our way so we can turn over to Mr. So he can kind of get the people in the right place. It ain't no doubt it's going to be up on him and his few staff people in a time we don't oppose and can't vote because that don't affect the board of supervisors. That's going to affect the governor down to the constable. If they can't vote when they go to the polls, that's what. And I don't want that on my legacy. So, thank you all for coming out tonight, for participating, and you'll be hearing from why we're going to have these negotiation meetings and start the process of. Thank you, and good night.